He is here today to help all of us celebrate, captivate, and communicate with our upcoming audiences. So to quote one of our great American philosophers, Tone Loc, let's do it. Please put your hands together for Mr. Ray Engan.
I don't need that. I got one. Thank you, Cara. I thought I was alone. I had this brilliant 10-minute speech about the Wizard of Oz. But I thought it was a drug movie. OZ, Oz, ounces, come on, people. It was really about this 13-year-old girl with no parents who grew up in a foster home, and every time she strayed off the path, something bad happened to her. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I've learned that you are the most important people in my life for the next 45 minutes, and I appreciate that, and I'm so grateful to be here in front of you people. And I was here last year on this stage, and I told a story. How many people were here last year? I told a story about a little kid that overcame cancer because he had a magic shoebox. His name's Shoebox Billy. And the most exciting announcement I can give about Shoebox Billy is he's about to become a book. So. And it's because of what you guys said. You guys, that should be a book. You should make a movie out of that. I'm working on that. But that is about to become a book. It's great. I would like to begin today with a little further adventure of Shoebox Billy. That summer, man landed on the moon, and the Mets won the World Series. Shoebox Billy and I were trying to add one extra miracle into 1969. It was a cool, crisp California Christmas Eve, 74 degrees. Billy was up on the roof with dirt, and I was holding a hose up to him. And we were about to prove conclusively that this year, yes, Santa Claus was indeed going to come to town. And we had his father's backing. His father had some street cred in this area, because at St. Patrick's Day, he had built a leprechaun trap that almost worked. Little green trails of fiber hanging out the trap, little tiny note that said, "Billy, you're good, but I'm better." It was signed Seamus. That Christmas Eve, I went to bed, woke up, got a new bike, but I was more excited to see if we had caught Santa Claus. I went over to Billy's house. He stood in his yard and he looked at me, expressionless. I said, "Billy, did Santa Claus come?" I noticed the corner of his mouth start turning up and going skyward, up, higher and higher, past his ears and into his eyes. Pretty soon, Billy was beaming. I got off the bike, and Billy gave me a low toe. You had to be here last year to remember what that is. But Billy did everything with a plan. Let's fast forward the story 30 years. I happen to be in Billy's house, and his daughter Ginny is in there. And she comes in crying and says, "Daddy, Daddy, Taylor says there's no such thing as Santa Claus." Billy stopped, looked at me, smiled, and he winked at me like he'd been planning this all along. He said, "Why, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus." As a matter of fact, you see those plaster casts of boot prints and hoof marks. Your Uncle Billy and I planned this 30 years ago. Those are Santa's footprints. We caught them on record. She looked at me, she looked at Billy, she looked back at me, then she walked up and gave Billy a low toe. He taught it to his daughter as well. So that's where Billy is. Some of you asked about it. Thank you guys so much for caring and listening, but let's talk about speech, because today you are going to talk about some openings. We're going to talk about different things we can do to find speeches, and we're going to have you come up and give it a little go. My father always told me the second that you stop learning is the second that you stop earning, and he was absolutely right. My mom, I got a lot of things from my mom and my dad. I want to see a picture of them, Bob and Madge. Well, this is the presentation. Make your presentation pop, engage. There they are. There's Bob and Madge right there. My father had a way with words. I was so scared to do something one time, but it was good for me. And my father always said, he was from Minnesota, and he used to play in the gym. It used to snow all the time when my father was in Minnesota. And so he had to spend time in the gym. And this is before equipment had pads on it. So the kids that got hurt were the weak ones. And my father said, yeah, we didn't worry about it. We never worried about the fall. All we had to do was stick the landing. So he told me to never fear the fall, always stick the landing. And I remember one time I was terrified. I was terrified, and I said, Dad, I'm scared of something. I don't want to do it. I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. He asked me, is your heart pumping in your chest? I said, uh-huh. It hurts. It's pumping so hard. He said, that thumping in your chest is not your heart. What that thumping is your dreams knocking on your door. The bigger the thump, the bigger the dreams. You need to get out of your own way, open your heart, and let your dreams in. I always admired my dad. I always wanted to have his way with words. I got my mom's eyes instead. Cruel irony. All right, so let's talk about better speech is better life. A recent study shows the most sought after skill on the job market, public communication, Toastmasters. By coming here, not only are you bettering your public speech, you are becoming more valuable. So, here's some different ways to come up with ideas for speeches that I've used over the years. If you have one last message to give to your son, daughter, or nephew, what would that be? One last message to your son, daughter, or nephew, what would that be? How would you like your eulogy to read? What accomplishments aren't on there yet? What skills do you need to acquire to get to that level? What's a belief that you have that no one can change? The F word. Use the F word, not that one. The F word. What are your fears, flaws, foibles, failures? If you share those with others, Stephen Covey's 8th habit is you have a story to tell that might help somebody else. So fears, flaws, failures, foibles. Not that one. Write your perfect day. We have a lot of fog up here in Rohnert Park, right? What happens when there's fog on the road? People slow down. Why? Because they don't know where they're going. If you haven't sat down and written out your perfect day, what your goals are, what your philosophies are, how do you know when you're going to reach there? That's interesting. Okay. So, pre-game for a speech. Speak hungry. If you eat before you speak, your digestive system will slow you down. Stay ready. And what I call is sting theory. Every move you make, every breath you take, they'll be watching you. So when you came in here today and you saw Lance Miller in the room, you go, oh my God, there's a world champion, right? He has to go through that every time he speaks. I was in a club down south that actually had a cage around the stage lined with chicken wire. And I was invited to speak there. And it was a comedy club. And every week they had a comedy show, and every week the comics said they'd never go back because they got stuff thrown at them, and they had pretty big holes in the chain, and it went through, and there's tomatoes everywhere. And so I showed up early because I was afraid. And I went up to the bartender, and I said, so they throw stuff at people and beer bottles and things like that? And he goes, oh, yeah, all the time. Get ready. I said, who does it? And he goes, those 4 guys right over there. So I went over and I sat down. I said, hi, my name's Ray. I'm one of the comedians tonight. I understand you guys throw some stuff. I said, well, yes, we do. I said, well, let me buy these guys a beer. And I sat down and I talked to them for 20 minutes. And they seemed nice. They didn't seem like they were going to throw stuff at me. And I went up, and it was one of the best crowds I was ever had the opportunity to stand in front of. At the end of the night, I got a standing ovation. I had an encore. The club owner said, we got to have you back. And I'm like, is that when you're going to throw stuff at me? And I walked up to the people on the side, and I said, why didn't you throw stuff at me? I said, mister, you're from California, and everybody comes here like they're big time and is from California. You bought us a beer. You became family. So when you speak, remember, when you walk in the room, you're part of the family. And you need to make them all feel as if they're that special, and that's why you're there that day. It's one of the best possible things that you can possibly do for somebody is make them feel important. Make them feel like they matter. The most motivating thing in the world, if you have kids or employees or anything, the most motivating thing in the world, you want to bring it down to one word, is hope. Because when there's no hope, there's no need to do anything else. So provide hope wherever you go. Smiles and hope. Now, what worries you before a speech or business presentation? What goes through your mind? Anyone? You're going to forget something, right? What else? What goes through your mind? Technical problems, like stuff with your PowerPoint. Yeah. Yours. What else? What's that? Throwing up. Wow. That's a whole... Who here has gone through that throwing up thing? On stage, I mean. Anybody? Seriously? Anybody worry about fainting? Worry about forgetting your words? Worry about the audience not getting it? Not being present when they're there? Is it about you? What's it about? The most important thing, you don't really become a speaker and you can't get your point across until you're wondering what the audience is thinking. Not what you have to do, but what the audience wants to hear. It's the most important thing at all, because it's not about you. Do you realize that the audience wants you to succeed? Because if you've ever sat through a horrible presentation for 30 minutes, was it yours? You don't want to sit through a horrible presentation. You're like, come on, be good, guy, be good. All right, so we'll get some good stuff. All right, the first 30 seconds of your presentation. Do y'all know who Patricia Fripp is? She describes the first 30 seconds of a presentation as like the first 3 minutes of a good movie. You need to captivate and grab the audience right away. How do you do that? What do you think? Share a story, okay? What kind of a story? Personal story. Have we come here on the same paths in life? Do men think different than women? Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. All right. Do single people think different than married people? Yeah. Do people from one country think different from another country? Do people from California think different from New York? Oh, yeah. Have you ever been to Minnesota? Oh, you betcha. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, fabulous. You have 30 seconds to bring people into your story. So there's different ways of openings, different ways to do it. I'll give you about 10 or 11 different openings, maybe give you a little demonstration on one. James Bond opening. Who here has ever seen the beginning of a James Bond movie? Powerful action, right? Things are blowing up, going crazy. Example of a James Bond opening. I saw the sun rise over the beautiful San Francisco Bay as my airbag deflated, and I realized I had 6 breaths left. You want to know about the next line, right? What happened, what got there. Something that drags you into a story and jumpstarts you getting into a story. Bring their emotions into your story. So if you've got a story, you're telling a tale. I haven't lived your life, but I've experienced love. I've experienced hate. I've experienced all the emotions we have, and you can do this by using you-focused questions to drag them, tap into their... What is going on here? For example, when one of the things that happened to me when I was a little kid is I was the shyest kid in the world. I actually wore a bucket on my head in 3rd grade. And they kept, well, stemmed from a kindergarten incident, right? My mom, when I was growing up, she used to wear these wraparound skirts. And so if I got real shy, I'd just walk inside of her wraparound skirt, right? Well, at the kindergarten open house, in front of every parent, every teacher, every student in attendance, one of the teachers, Mrs. Carrillo, happened to wear the same wraparound skirt as my mom. It looked the same from where I stood, right? The whole school laughed at me. I shut down. I didn't say anything. My teachers kept moving me on. They called me the quiet one. And then in 5th grade, I had a teacher that saw that I wasn't speaking in class, but I sat next to the class clown and I whispered things in his ear to say. Called me the class clown's head writer. Cyrano de Robin Williams. And this teacher designed a school play just for me. He had everybody else audition for a part. He gave me the lead. And that's the story that I told 2 years ago to win District 57. And that's what I went to Cincinnati with. And I started that speech with, can you remember being 5 years old, just living your dreams? We've all been a little kid. We've all lived our dreams. You have different dreams, But if you tap into those emotions, you can transfer them into your story. I believe tap and transfer is what Craig Valentine calls it. So it's a very, very effective way to open with you-focused questions. Tap and transfer. Number 3, a quotation. My father always said. I talk a lot about my father. Father always said this. My father always said that. Or you can quote a song is another way to bring people in. If you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? A lot of rap people here in Rohnert Park, I see. Good. Good. Take them to a different place and time. It was 6:37 on a cool Monday morning as I walked into the South Tower of the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2002. Take them to another place and time. Call back to a previous speaker or incident. How did I start today? Wizard of Oz, referring to somebody else. That's a very effective way to draw and engage an audience into your presentation. So there's 5. Bizarre fact, you know the platypus has no stomach. 37% of people that answer this question get it right 45% of the time. Just something to engage, get people going, get people on your side. I know what you're thinking, opening. If you have something that is so obvious to the audience when you walk out here, if you don't reference it right away, they're going to think about it quickly. So if I walked out here and I just shook my head and I said, yep, I had a bad hair day today. That's what they're thinking. U.S. Navy opening, port of call, Bayonne. That's that commercial that you give a time and a place and exactly what you're doing and where you're going to go with it. Different types of openers. Congratulations on choosing to better your speaking by joining Toastmasters. A compliment or a challenge to the audience. And a what the heck is he doing opening. This is my personal favorite. I don't do it very often, but it would go something like this. But I should turn around and then fake like I'm doing something and then turn around. Okay. It's harder now, I'm older. Now, I'm standing right here, and a couple of you are going, oh, I know what that is. That's the crane. Karate Kid, that's a great movie. The crane, the crane. He's kind of old. He can't stay up like that for long. But there's 2 of you in the room right now that are thinking, sweep the leg. Anything that draws attention and gets everything focused on you in the first 30 seconds is okay to do it. Now, this is actually a hard, fast rule in speaking, that there are no hard, fast rules in speaking. Song or a poem. The great Walt Whitman said. Bruce Springsteen, the great American philosopher Bruce Springsteen, once found the engine, the key to the universe in the old parked car. You know, whatever it is that makes your point. You need something that backs up your point. The key thing is to have a point. You need to know what your speech is going to be about, and you need to be able to describe it to someone else in 10 words or less. So what's the main point that you're trying to make of your speech? In a lot of ways, a speech is like a trial for an attorney. They write the opening and they write the closing. They usually write the closing before they write the opening. But the middle can change. So if you know the point, the inalienable right or love, hope, anything is possible, anything like that, whatever your point is, write a beginning, write an end, and the rest will come. But those are the 2 most important things. So who here has something that they're working on that they would like to share with the audience? We'll kind of do a little live speech makeover because that's what this is all about. I didn't want to talk for this long, but I did, so let's bring it up. Yes, come on up, round of applause. Where's the, This working? There we go. So it's Kieran, right? Kieran, Okay, so, and you have a name of a speech?
Are you a victim?
Are you a victim? Okay. Yeah, it's on. It is on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce her, just like a speech contest, and you give her your applause, and then she'll start, and we'll kind of walk through and do this. So your first contestant, Kiran Patel. Are you a victim, Kiran Patel?
Let's say someone calls your name. Maybe it's a 4-letter word. Are you a victim? Now, how about if your boss fires you because of a lie that your coworker told them?
All right, stop.
Are you a victim?
Stop. Okay. Put the mic down.
Put the mic down.
Then keep going. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Kiran Patel.
Are you a victim? Let's say someone calls you a name. Maybe it's a 4-letter word.
All right, stop. Leave that line out.
Okay.
So, are you a victim? Then go to the next line. Are you a victim?
And go to which line?
The next line after that. So do you see what the beginning of her speech, how it takes away from her message right away? Are you a victim versus, well, has anybody said anything to you and said, are you a victim? What's your message with this speech?
My message is, there is a place inside that cannot be harmed. It is in each and every one of us, and it is immune to circumstance. And if we just connect into that place, access that place, and know that that place is who you really are, we have accessed our infallible power source.
Okay.
That's my message.
Okay. Give it up. Did you hear the passion inside of her when she's giving the message versus when she's trying to remember what the first line of her speech is? So the first line of the speech actually is taking away from your message by being so long. So just the simple line question is, if you're asking a you question, tap into their emotions and transfer into your story. Are you a victim? You don't need the part about, what's the second line? The 4-letter word thing.
Called you? Yeah, if someone calls you a name, are you a victim?
And what's the next line after that?
If your boss fires you because of a lie a coworker told them, are you a victim?
Okay.
But then I have a really powerful one, like, if a stranger with a massive weapon commands you to get down on your knees or I'll bash your skull in, are you a victim? See that last, and then I go to.
Okay. Does that seem like her? So that.
Don't not be me.
No, if it adds to the story, it does, but I think it takes away.
Okay.
Because your message is, are you a victim? And then what you said at the end when you gave that powerful message was great, and I could feel your conviction. That felt forced.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I know this is Toastmasters, but I'm just going to tell you what I think instead of, this is great, and here's how we make it even better, so you don't mind if I actually get into a little nitty-gritty and go into this thing. Is that okay? All right.
Yes.
And we're being filmed, and you can send this to Toastmaster International and with me. Okay, so the initial question is, are you a victim? Because that's really what the speech is about, and then you're going to go into that thing right there. But just go with, are you a victim, and then skip over that second line, drop that out, and just go to the boss thing and see how that plays out.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
So just go to the boss, like if
we're editing on the fly here.
That's cool. I'm good with it. Thank you. I'm
okay.
appreciating it.
All right. Kiran Patel.
Are you a victim? If your boss fires...
Stop. So...
I thought you wanted me to go to the boss.
I do. But okay. I want that message to come across. You said, are you a victim? Well, no. Are you a victim?
Okay.
So
yeah, like
feel the emotion
real,
like it's a real question.
This is real.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kiran Patel! The 2016 World Champion of Public Speaking.
Are you a victim? If your boss fires you because
Okay,
you're
stop. So, I want you to say, are you, and then wait until I tap you on the back to say a victim.
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in the first contestant in the 2016 World Championship of Public Speaking, Karen Patel. Are you a victim? Are you a victim? Karen Patel.
Are you a victim?
You see the difference? Do you feel the difference?
Yeah.
Versus, are you a victim? Are you a victim?
Thank you, yeah.
Okay. Round of applause for Karen. Good job. Who else? Who else has got something? Anything? Yeah. Come on up. What's your name again?
Jake.
Jake. Okay, so what's the name of what you're working on?
You know.
Oh, is it? Okay. I'll say the name I think it is going to be. I had the pleasure of speaking at their club the other night, and he came up and did a table topic about some things, and good luck with this. Here you go. You need this. I'm just going to step back a little bit. And Jake, what's your last name?
Just Jake Dimitri.
Jake Dimitri. The 2016 World Champion Public Speaking, Jake Dimitri. Exploding kitties, Jake Dimitri.
Now you look at me and you hope this is a not visual aids project.
Stop. Okay. Who heard what he said? And it wasn't, and I'm not talking about the language, how fast was that? So, whatever it is, I want to hear your words. So slow down about 1/10 of that speed. Okay? Jake Dimitri, Exploding Kitties, Jake Dimitri.
Now you look at me and you hope this is not a visual aids project.
Much better, right? Very good. Very good. And where are we going with this?
Now you look at me and ask yourself, is this person going to tell you how to explode kittens? Is he?
Normally I'd say stop, but I'm letting you go with this one. Watch the kittens explode.
Instead, I'm going to tell you how the most craziest ideas you might have may bring you success, money, and fame.
Okay, so what do you want us to do after this speech? What's our call to action?
You need to come up, you have great ideas already. Every person in the world has an idea. You take this idea.
In 10 words or less.
Take this idea, come up with a plan, and make it working.
Okay. Key thing, slow down, everything will be great. And we'll get those kitties exploded. All right, Jake Dimitri, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. You can't. So the question is, I'm a project. Yeah. If you're looking at getting a speech as tight as possible and getting your message across, you need to end your sentence with what people call punch words. So whatever the most important thing in your speech sentence should end the sentence. For example, time never ends a sentence. I went to the store today. Well, the focus of that sentence is not that you did it today, it's that you went to the store. So if you're really editing a speech and you want it to be as tight as possible, you would put the most important thing at the end of each sentence, and the same thing like a joke. You don't want to step over the punchline, and you don't want to step over with extra words that dilute your message with your speech. Make sense? Okay. Who else we got? Nora. Ladies and gentlemen, Nora Guy. There you go. So what's the name of this?
Lane's story.
Lane's story. Okay, and what do you want us to think differently at the end of this speech?
My thesis, my 10-word thesis, is I am grateful for the chaos. It helped me to find order.
I'm grateful for chaos. It helped me to find order. Nora Guy, Lane's story, Nora Guy.
Okay.
Stop. Let all the applause die down before you go. Stop. When they stop applauding, sit there and go, okay, I'm a little bit uncomfortable. I should speak now.
Okay.
Say that sentence in your head. Should be about right. All right. Nora Guy, Lane's story.
My friend Lane is one of those girls. She is bright, funny, educated, accomplished, business professional, and she's many things to many people: a wife, a mom, an employee, Toastmaster. But inside, she is 14 years old. That is the age at which her father told her he loved her for the first and last time.
Okay. Round of applause for Nora. Hold your mic down a little bit.
Okay.
I think you started it with, have you had one of those friends that's perfect in every way you thought? And then go into that, or something like that. So a you question. Well, I don't know where this is going, but okay. Nora Guy, Lane's story.
Have you ever had one of those friends who's perfect in every way?
Or so you thought.
Or so you thought. My friend Lane is one of those girls. She is bright, funny, intelligent, educated, and she's many things to many people. She's a wife, a mom, an employee, a Toastmaster. She seems to be a grown person on the outside, but inside she is 14 years old. You see, that is the age at which Lane's father told her he loved her for the first and last time.
Okay. What if we, and what do you guys think of this? What if we took that and did something like cut out about 90% of that and had, have you ever had one of those friends that you thought was one of those perfect people and later you found out blah, blah, blah? Because I'm trying to edit in my head and I don't have that in front of me. But if we went to where it's you're saying all good things about her, and then you go to, and her father told her he loved her once. So see if you can edit and bring it down to that, and then so Nora Guy, Lane's story.
Have you ever had one of those friends who you thought was perfect in every way and later found out they weren't? My friend Lane is one of those girls. She is bright, funny, articulate, educated. She's a wife, a mom. She's a respected employee, a Toastmaster. But inside, she's 14 years old. That's the age at which her father told her he loved her only once.
Nice. A little bit tighter. So what, have you ever had one of those friends that you thought they were perfect, but later you'd find out differently. My friend Lane is bright, funny, articulate, loving. She's a mother, she's a wife, and she acts like she's 14 years old. Because that's the day that her father told her that he loved her for the very first time, or the only time. Or there's better words than that in there. But do you see how that's kind of, is that a little tighter, or? Okay, because you got to get to that. The problem is that she was told that her father loved her one time.
Right. For a reason.
Okay. For a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we got, I got 10 minutes left, right? Okay. So Nora Guy, ladies and gentlemen. I got to tell this story real quickly because it's kind of like therapy for me. And you know, $60 a month is, or $60 every 6 months is so much cheaper than regular therapy as a Toastmaster. But I talk about my dad a lot, and Nora reminded me of this story. And my father was brilliant, but I didn't know it until later on in life. And it wasn't until after he died that I discovered it. You see, my father was given 6 months to live, and I had never told him that I loved him. Kind of the opposite problem with that. I'd never told him I loved him, and he had 6 months to live, and I still couldn't do it. And I remember going to the house the last time, and I had to tell him that I loved him. And he looked at me when I walked in. I was ready and set to do it, and he looked at me, and his eyes kind of scoured together, and he pointed at me, and he said, "Go." He said one word, "Go." So the last time I ever saw my father alive, he kicked me out. Now my mom understood what my father meant, but I didn't. And so about 2 years after that moment, she bought a new headstone for my father. And she wanted me to go to the cemetery and go with her and see the new headstone for my father. And so we're walking in the middle of the cemetery. My mom, little short, kind of Minnesotan square grandma, central casting type. In the middle of the cemetery, she said, "Stop." And I don't know if you've ever been in a cemetery, but the silence is deafening. She said, "Listen to the silence." She said, "That silence isn't for the souls that have departed. That silence is the dreams that died with them." When your father said, "Go," he didn't say, "Go, get out of here." He was saying, "Go." He always knew you wanted to speak. "Go live your dreams. Now go to your father's grave, tell him that you love him, and get on with your life." Now I told you I had my mom's eyes, but I'll never have her vision. And I walked over to my father's grave, and my foot hit a root or something. I don't know what it was, but I almost face planted on my father's grave, right? And one foot came down, the other one kind of came around, and I caught it. And I looked like some sort of bad Jerry Lewis snowplow kind of thing. And that's when I saw the headstone that my mom had put on there for the very first time. And I looked at it, and a big grin came over my face, and I threw my arms up in the air because what it said was, "Don't fear the fall, just stick the landing." And that's when I got to be able to move on with my life with my dad. So I overcame being the shyest person in the world, having trouble with personal relationships, and I'm able to get up on stage and deliver a message. And it isn't because of me, it's because the things that I learned through Toastmasters and when I went to the World Championships. I actually got to have lunch with Lance. He doesn't remember, but I remember it because my life was pretty good, and he told me, "Well, you can have a message and still have a pretty good life." And I met Darren LaCroix, and I learned all kinds of things through those people. So the message I want you to understand is it's a process that you follow to become good at anything. And the information is out there. None of us have to struggle to go through and do that. So I'm going to tell you a couple things that I have that are things that I like that you can get as well. This is kind of a little, now I'm going to sell stuff to you, okay? For about 2 minutes, and then I'll take questions. I got to go through all this because we didn't get to that. Your attitude is everything. Punch words we talked about. The rule of three. Quick little Star Trek rule of three. You know the rule of three? Ever heard that? You ever watch Star Trek? Star Trek has the best rule of three I've ever seen. What they do is they take two known premises and they throw you this made-up premise that you have to enjoy because it's Star Trek. So Kirk would say, according to the writings of Plato, Socrates, and Cremus from Rigel 7. Like if you know Plato and Socrates, you have to know Cremus from Rigel 7. Anyway, that was just... So I have a CD out that I made with Craig Valentine, Ed Tate, and Darren LaCroix. Anybody here deathly afraid of speaking in public? Anybody? Toastmasters, you shouldn't be, but if you are and you're afraid to raise your hand, this is a great thing to have. It'll also teach you how to be more powerful on the platform. That's something that I have available. I'm selling for people. I also have your pre-order of Shoebox Billy, which is coming out, which is an awesome book. There's the actual, that's not an actual shoebox, but it was the best picture I could find of one. I also just finished my first book, and it's titled The Last Seminar Book You'll Ever Need, Part 1. And that has 101 best tips from 101 of the best seminars that I ever listened to or read. That one's also $24.95. I also would love to coach some of you to do some of these things and talk more about these things as well. That's something we have. And I got a special District 57 hometown special because I love everybody here. If you want to buy the CD, instead of $25, it's $20. The seminar book, that's an ebook. Instead of $25, it's $20. Shoebox Billy pre-order. Basically, if you buy the other two, Billy's free. It'll come in December. And a coaching session, instead of $200 is $100, or if you get everything today, the CD, the 2 books, and a coaching session only charge you $97. You save $168. Oh my God, you make money being a Toastmaster. All right, so that's my little pitch, and I'm sticking to it. What questions do we have about openings, closings, anything to make a speech a little more tighter? What do you got? I got 5 minutes. Yes, sir.
Comment about saying thank you at the end of the speech.
It depends where you're at. Okay, he said, why am I holding this up? I got a mic on. Comment about saying thank you at the end of the speech. Toastmasters will say, never say thank you at the end of the speech. Well, if you were hired to give a keynote and they're paying you $5,000 and you're filling the room with people, I would darn well say thank you at the end of the speech. Darren LaCroix has a pet peeve about PowerPoint ending with the word thank you. So he says, never end the PowerPoint with the word thank you. And he has a big slide that says, don't do this. And then his last slide is what? Thank you. Okay? But there's... Thank you, that's kind of like, hello, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. The only reason that people say that in a speech contest, because there's somebody out there who's judging that might ding them because they say that, because Toastmasters is 98 years old or 90 years old. And so they don't want to get dinged in a contest, so they include it in there. It has nothing to do with the speech or the content of the speech. We used to have to give speeches behind a podium for the World Championship of Public Speaking. That's changed a little bit. So things change, get used to it. Or else when you go home, you're going to, hello, Bessie, get me the sheriff, you know? Embrace the change. What other question? Yes? Loved your table topic, by the way. Don't know you, but loved your table topic. What I'm telling you is you had a wonderful learning opportunity today. And you should embrace whatever place you came in. Do I know what the judges were and what their thought? No, I don't. But if there is somebody that hangs on to that, that's the only reason if I give a contest speech that if I give another speech, I don't say, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. I only do it in contest speech because I don't want to get dinged for it. I never open with it in the speech because to me that's a waste of an opening because there's none of those things I talked about is Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. We all joined Toastmasters for a reason. None of it was to learn how to say Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. We all joined Toastmasters for a reason. None of it was to speak better in Toastmasters. I guarantee that. So whatever your reason is, embrace it and grow that. Use the Toastmaster culture, which is so supportive and so wonderful and loving, to get better with it, but don't worry so much about the rules. You know, if you're at a club and you've got a minute left of your speech and they flash the red card, finish it. It's the experience. I know somebody's going to get mad at me. Well, it cuts time out of table topics. I don't care. Enjoy the moment. You know, it's better than racing through. Yes, sir. Ending is so important. What you need to do, whatever you're beginning, should somehow tie into the end and your message. So hopefully what you have in a speech, and I didn't really get a chance to do this, a foundational phrase. What's a foundational phrase? It's a phrase that's repeated in the speech that kind of gives a meaning. Up yours is one. The low toe. Don't look up to your heroes, look into them. Ouch. There's so many different foundational phrases out there. Your dream is not for sale. I had a dream. Tear down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev. Ask not what your country can do for you. What's that? I see something. Thank you. I see something in you, but I don't know what it is. I just said thank you. All right. So those are the key things, is to tie the beginning to the end. What we really lose in speech is clarity. We have things in there. Don't ever try and force humor into your speech. It won't work. Uncover it. Add names to people. Add product. You know, what are they wearing? What's their name? Put animals in there. You know, duck is scientifically the funniest animal on the planet. I don't know why, but it is. That's from the Humor Research Lab, which is Hurl, by the way. One last question. Anybody? All right, Ray, I'll ask myself a question. Yes? The most important thing when you're standing up here is to be present and enjoying the journey. If you're nervous or uncomfortable, you can tell, can't you? Do you give credit for people that aren't having fun and enjoying the journey? I can be brutally honest with myself. When I started today, I was back here and I wasn't really present. It took me a little bit of time to get present and join you guys in the room to enjoy this journey. And thank you so much for letting me enjoy the journey. I don't care what you think about me saying thank you. I'm really honored to be able to have spent this time with you. If anybody has any questions for me later, I'll be hanging here. If anybody wants to buy things, I got order forms. I'm more than happy. I take all forms of payment as well. So thank you guys so much. Please let me give it back to Miss Wasden here, Cara, one of the fabulous people from Toast to Petaluma.